Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Relationship Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Vibyana, and today we are going to be talking about long-distance relationships. Now, I have never been in a long-distance relationship, and I don't think I would ever attempt to be in a long-distance relationship. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I have personally seen long-distance relationships succeed in my life. I've also seen them fail. So I've had experience witnessing my friends and family members be in long-distance relationships, but I personally just haven't been in one, and I don't think I'm made for it. But in today's episode, we are going to be talking about some things that no one tells you about when you're in a long-distance relationship. We're going to be talking about some tips on how to make a long-distance relationship work, and we're also going to be talking about the 10 stages of a long-distance relationship and how to navigate them. Now, since I told you that I've never been in a long-distance relationship before, I had to do a lot of research. I had to Google some things. I had to read up on a lot of these things, and I had to learn them in order to talk about them. So I just want to say that I might not be the love distance relationship guru, but I've accumulated enough information and enough knowledge to provide you with a great hour-packed episode. And at the very end, I'm going to be talking about some really good relationship gifts to give your significant other if you're in a long-distance relationship. So for all the listeners at home who are in a long-distance relationship currently and are thinking about some new and interesting gifts to give to your partner, I got you covered at the very end. So we are going to start off with the 10 stages of a long-distance relationship, and then we're going to talk about how to navigate each stage. So first off, we're just going to name the 10 stages just so we're all on the same page, and then we're going to go in one by one talking about the stages and how to navigate them. So stage 1 is apprehension, stage 2 is optimism, stage 3 is stress. Going on to stage 4, we have building a foundation of trust. Stage 5 is acclimation and the formation of habits. Stage 6 is called the comfort zone. Stage 7 is doubt and uncertainty. Stage 8 is called reality check. Stage 9 is stability. Stage 10, enrichment and the future. So let's go all the way back to stage 1. Apprehension. Now this one is pretty self-explanatory. When you are interested in somebody and you realize that they're some ways away from you, whether it's a whole entire state, a whole other country, a couple hours, a few hours, whatever a long distance relationship is to you, you might find yourself very apprehensive at first. You kind of don't want to get into a relationship knowing that it's going to be a long distance relationship because everybody knows that it's so hard to make long distance relationships work, and it's really difficult. Nobody ever says that long distance relationships are easy, so the apprehension is always going to be there. And that's when you have to really look inward and figure out if you would be a good partner in a long distance relationship, and if you will be satisfied as a partner in a long distance relationship. Because if you know your wants and your needs in a relationship, then you can see if they will be fulfilled in a relationship that's long distance. For example, like I said in a previous episode, my top 2 love languages are words of affirmation and touch. And words of affirmation, I guess that could work in a long distance scenario with text messages, calling, FaceTiming, all that good stuff. but touch would not work for me. And touch is a really big love language of mine when I'm in a relationship. And I know that if that need isn't being fulfilled, I feel like I have no love in my life. I feel like I'm not getting enough love. And being in a long distance relationship, knowing that I won't be able to hug my partner or hold my partner makes me feel like I just know that being in a long distance relationship wouldn't work for me. So the apprehension starts because you don't know if you're going to be okay with the restraints of a long distance relationship. It takes a lot of energy to be in a long distance relationship and to work it out and to communicate. And you need to first know how you are as a person before you can even start being in a long distance relationship. So for stage 2, we have optimism, because once you decide finally that you are going to go through with the relationship and pursue it, you become optimistic and hopeful and excited for the relationship to start, to blossom, to flourish, like the honeymoon phase, basically. And how I would tell you to navigate this stage is kind of tread with caution, because yes, the optimism and the excitement is obviously natural, and it's a great feeling to be happy and giddy and in love and all that gooey stuff. But the honeymoon phase is a phase. It doesn't last forever, and you're not going to always remain as hopeful and optimistic as you were in the beginning of a relationship. So once you can acknowledge that your emotions are obviously valid and you're happy and giddy and all excited, like I said, you also have to be aware of the reality of the situation and knowing that there's going to be trials and tribulations, there's going to be issues, there's going to be a little bumps in the road, and that is completely normal. So for stage 2, enjoy it. Enjoy the optimism. Enjoy the excitement. But don't be so shocked if it goes away or something happens to kind of knock the optimism out of the way. Now, stage 4 is probably the most important, in my opinion, building a foundation of trust. I think that's important, obviously, in any given relationship, but especially in a long-distance relationship. If I could bold, highlight, underline, caps this entire stage, I would do it, because it's so important to build a solid foundation of trust with your significant other, because you guys aren't going to be together. You guys are going to be separated. However long the distance is, a couple miles, a state, a country, you guys are going to be separated. And it is so imperative to know the difference between control and trust, and being able to navigate that in a very healthy way, because it is so easy to just become a very controlling person in a relationship. You can just spew out whatever. You can't do this, or this, or else I'm going to feel angry, mad, or jealous. It's easy to do that. But what's hard, and what is probably the best thing to do, is to be able to trust your partner. And the way you do that is communicating about your boundaries, about what is okay and what's not okay, without controlling your partner. You can speak on what makes you uncomfortable without having to control your partner. And that is what helps build a strong foundation of trust, so that the emotions of anger or jealousy don't arise. Having that trust being solidified in the beginning, having those boundaries clear, and knowing how to solidify faithfulness with your partner is so important. And it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of communication. But once you're good, then you're good. Stage 5 is the acclimation and formation of habits. This is a pretty chill stage. Once you're in a long distance relationship for a while, obviously habits start to form, routines form. You get an I love you text every morning, you get a good night text every night, you get a FaceTime call in the middle of the day, and it's just your guys' routine. It's what works best for you and both of your schedules. And that's natural, and that's all good and dandy, but what becomes a little tricky is when it starts to feel like an obligation. It starts to feel like a chore. And something so simple like texting someone every morning or every night doesn't seem like it would become a chore or feel kind of tedious in any way. But it's natural if it does happen, and it kind of feels a little annoying to have to do that all the time. Sometimes you don't want to FaceTime in the middle of the day, but since that's your only time you can FaceTime with your partner, it's a chore, it's an obligation. It kind of feels forced in some moments. And when that happens, don't be angry. Don't feel like the relationship is falling apart. Don't feel like it's not going to work. Just communicate. And try thinking of different ways to break the habits, start new habits, start different routines, because it's going to get boring after a while. If you're doing the same thing over and over again every day for months and months, it's going to be boring for one of you guys at some point in time. So spicing it up, changing it a little bit is all good and actually really healthy for the relationship. Just make sure that you guys are all on the same page and it works for both of your schedules, and you're good to go. Stage 6 is the comfort zone, and this one is probably the most applicable to kind of all relationships, not just long distance relationships. But this one is very, very important because in the comfort zone, you'll find yourself obviously in a relationship with somebody, and you'll realize that you're going about your daily life not really thinking about them as much as you used to, not really texting them as much as you used to, calling them. You just feel comfortable living your life, and you kind of take your partner for granted, which is obviously normal, and it happens in every relationship, long distance or regular. But it's very, very important to make sure that you are not taking your partner for granted and not getting too caught up in your own life to the point where you completely kind of forget about your partner, because that is really going to shape how your relationship either moves forward and becomes stronger, or it can possibly be the dead end if you guys just stop talking to each other as much as you used to and you stop thinking about each other. The stakes are really low, and you can easily just break up with them and, you never have to see them again because you're not seeing each other anyway. It's very easy to just quit at this stage. The comfort zone, it's very easy to just dip out and live your own life and find somebody new that you can see every day. But if you really love the person that you're in a relationship with, tread the comfort zone with so much care, because it's so easy to fall off in this moment. But if you don't and you communicate, man, oh man, you're going to get a stronger relationship in the future. And I know I keep saying communicate at like every stage, but communication is such a big, important thing. People just don't do it, and it's so hard to do. So I'm going to keep drilling it into this episode. Communicate, communicate, communicate with your significant other, whether it's a long distance relationship or a regular relationship, but especially if it's a long distance relationship. Obviously, you guys are only communicating like through text or through phone calls or FaceTime or other video call systems. So communication is already at the forefront of your relationship. So just communicate about your feelings. I know it's really hard to do. I know. But just do it. It'll be better. Okay? Now, stage 7. This one is a doozy for sure. This one is doubt and uncertainty. Because doubt is one of the most evil villains in every single relationship. And its sidekick is uncertainty. And together, they're going to try and ruin your relationship. But, like I said, if you have a strong foundation of trust and good communication skills, then stage 7, it won't even be an issue for you. Doubt and uncertainty will not win this round, because the only way you can navigate this stage in a good, proactive way is to, say it with me guys, communicate. You need to let your partner know how you feel about certain doubts in your relationship, what you feel uncertain about, questions that you have, feelings that you have. You have to speak your mind, bare your soul, bare your heart, and all of your emotions. Leave them all out on the table. Just do it, because then you'll get the clear answers that you need. That's all you need. The way that you defeat doubt and uncertainty is with answers. And how do you get answers? Through communication. I can't say it enough, guys. Just communicate. Come on. Now, let's say you're listening to this podcast and you're like, Vibyana, stop. I hate communication. I'm not going to do it. I hate it so much. I'm never going to communicate with my partner, no matter how many times you tell me to. Well, then I'll tell you this, listener. Then you're going to have to move to stage 8, reality check, where you have to ask yourself and you have to ask your partner, do you really want to continue this relationship? Now I know that is a hard question. I know. But if you're not going to communicate about the problems that you have or the problems that you feel, and you don't have any foundation of trust, if you just skipped all of those stages and you're feeling like you kind of just want to dip out of this relationship, then you have to ask at least one question. Do you still want to do this? Do you still want to be in this relationship? Do you still love each other? Are you willing to wait it out? Do you have the emotional strength to stick through a long distance relationship? Now, if the answers are no, then end it, because then you're wasting your time and you're wasting your partner's time. But if the answer is yes, then keep going. Easy solution. Just keep going. Push through, baby, because you can do it. But you have to be able to communicate. And the reality check stage 8, is going to be the hardest if you don't communicate, because then you're still going to have a bunch of questions in the back of your mind that you don't have answered, and those are going to influence how you feel about the relationship and how you feel about it going forward. And it's just going to build up and then tumble all the way down. So just communicate. I know there's listeners out there who don't want to communicate and they're saying no, but I'm saying yes, do it. Because if you do it, if you listen to me and you're like, oh my God, Vibyana, thank you so much for spitting these words of wisdom at me about communication, then you can happily live in stage 9 and 10, stability and enrichment and the future, baby. Because then your relationship is solid. It's solid as a rock. You have the trust, you have the communication, you have a healthy routine, you have those nice habits in your relationship, and you can thrive. You can thrive in a long distance relationship for as long as you need to be until your paths meet and you can live together happily ever after. But those are the 10 stages of a long distance relationship. There's some good stages in there, there's some bad stages in there. But it all depends on how you navigate them and what you're willing to put into the relationship. But now we're going to get into some tips on how to make a long distance relationship work, because it could be hard for some of you guys. So I got some tips, I got you covered, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
The GSMC Sex Podcast is a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet. Download the GSMC Sex Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you can find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Alrighty, so for all of you guys that are in a long distance relationship currently and know everything that I'm saying, and you're just like, Vibyana, tell me something I don't know, well, just wait to the very end of the episode for our last segment where I talk to you about the different types of gifts that you can give your significant other, because these are innovative, these are really cool, and I bet you never heard of them before. So all you long distance lovebirds out there, just stay tuned to the very, very end, because then I got you covered. But for right now, we're going to be talking about some tips to make long distance relationships work. Now, like I said in the previous segment on the 10 stages of a long distance relationship, the two most important things, if I can cherry pick them, were to build a foundation of trust and to communicate. So with these tips, I don't really want to just keep saying the same thing over and over again, because if I had $1 for every time I said communicate or communication in an episode, I would probably have like $15 or $20, I feel, by now. But I'm going to avoid saying that in this segment, and I'm going to come up with some new things. So don't even worry. I will not say communicate any longer. You already know how important it is. So let's get into some more tips on how to make a long distance relationship work. So tip number 1, I had to do some research on this, like I said, because I've never been in a long distance relationship. And the first thing that kind of stuck out to me was to avoid excessive communication, which completely contradicts everything that I said, because I was saying how important communication is and how you should communicate always. But then a tip that I read said to avoid excessive communication, which I guess I understand now, because sometimes too much communication is too much, it's a lot. And I think knowing how much is too much for your partner is really, really helpful, because then you won't feel clingy or overbearing, and you won't annoy your partner. So avoid excessive communication. That's the only time I will use avoid and communication in the same sentence. Now, this tip that I read was so cute to me, so I just really, really wanted to share it with you guys, but it's to send each other letters. Because in the age of technology, obviously we text all the time, we FaceTime, we call, we do all that jazz. But nothing beats a handwritten letter. Nothing beats it. It's the best thing in the whole entire world to receive a handwritten letter in the mail from your significant other. It's so cute. I just really, really love handwritten letters. So that's one tip that I just wanted to share with you guys. Just write each other letters, cute little pen pal letters. Even though you're in a full-fledged long-distance relationship, writing little hand note letters is so cute, and it's a little memento they can keep and have, and you can send each other pictures through the mail. Not everything has to be digital, is all I'm saying. Maybe taking it back old school is the way to go. So write each other letters, send each other cute photos. It's so cute. I love it. I recommend. Another tip that I read was to do things together, and that seems very hard, obviously, because you're in 2 different locations, but you can do online gaming together, you can watch documentaries or movies or TV shows on Netflix at the same time. There's different apps where you can watch YouTube videos at the same time, so it's kind of like you guys are together in a way. You can go on walks together. And when I first read this, I was like, wait, what? Like, how can you do that? And basically they explain that if you and your significant other say, oh, let's go for a walk in the park, then at a certain time of day, you guys both go to a nearby park and then FaceTime each other while you guys are walking. And it's kind of like you're walking in the park together. And I thought that was a really creative way to spend time with your significant other. I think it's really interesting. And I think one of the biggest tips I can give people who are pursuing a long-distance relationship or are in a long-distance relationship is to just be creative and spontaneous, and to be open to just trying new things, to communicate with each other, and to keep the relationship fun. Now, this next tip that I read, when I first read it, I was kind of like, well, duh. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably the most important tip, and it's to know each other's schedules. I don't know if you're in a long-distance relationship with somebody who's in a different time zone, but that is so important to know their schedule, know what time it is where they are, and what that time is in relation to your current time, and being able to schedule things according to their schedule, if they work or if they go to school or if they have other activities that they do. It's good to know your significant other's schedule and their boundaries within their schedule, so you know when is the appropriate time to communicate with them or to call them, to FaceTime them without feeling like you're interrupting something in their life or being too clingy or being too overbearing. Knowing that and having a structure for both your schedule and their schedule will help communication just flow easier, and scheduling will just flow so much easier if you want to do an online date. Knowing when they get off of work or when they get off of school or when they're just free during the day is so important. And I cannot stress enough, if time zones are an issue, just make sure that you are constantly aware of their time. I know on iPhones, in the little clock app, you can literally add any single country, state to your clock, and you can have their time displayed on your clock so you know what time it is where they are. Like my grandma, she's in the Philippines, and I like to call her sometimes, but right now I'm recording this at 2 p.m. and in the Philippines it's 3 a.m. So if I called her right now, we wouldn't be talking. So it's so important to know each other's times and time zones and each other's schedules so you guys can really work together to make the relationship thrive. Another tip that I read was to keep track of their social medias. And when I first read that, it kind of seemed a little negative, like tracking someone's social media, all like, ooh, I'm tracking you, but not in that way. Tracking their social media in a sense so you kind of know what they like on social media so you guys can talk about it, so you can send them things in relation to what they like, so you can tweet them, DM them on Instagram, funny images, funny memes, whatever. Just knowing kind of what their social media looks like so you can add to it or you can kind of play off of it. It might not be the most convenient thing to do to call your significant other all the time in a long distance relationship because, like I said, avoid excessive communication, but it can also be a really nice way to communicate with your partner through social media, through memes. I know personally I send so many of my friends TikToks that remind me of them, and it's just a cute way to let your significant other know that you're thinking about them, but you're also okay with not really communicating one-on-one. If you don't really want to call them or text them or they're busy or you're busy, just sending them a little meme, a little TikTok, whatever it may be, it's just a nice way to remind them that you're thinking about them. Now, this tip almost has as much importance as stage 4, the building the foundation of trust that I mentioned earlier. This tip is almost as important as this one, and it is to avoid dangerous situations. Now you're thinking, Vibyana, dangerous? What do you mean by dangerous? Up to you. That is up to you and your partner to decide what you consider a dangerous situation. But for the sake of the episode, I'll give you an example. For example, a dangerous situation could be going out to the club with your friends late at night, drinking, having a good time when you're known to be a flirty drunk. Okay. Why is this a dangerous situation, you may ask? Because if you are in a long-distance relationship and you got a couple drinks in you and you're at the club and you know how you get, you might start flirting with another person, one thing might lead to another, and all of a sudden infidelity. All of a sudden. So avoid dangerous situations that you know are dangerous for you. Now, some people can go to the club and drink and go crazy with their friends and not flirt with people and not go crazy and do something they might regret. Some people find that a non-dangerous situation. So it's really up to how you are as a person and knowing what is considered quote-unquote dangerous for you. Now, if you find yourself in one of these dangerous situations, you can do one of two things. Number one, just don't do it. Just don't put yourself in that situation and you just avoid any problems. That's number one. Or what you can do is communicate with your partner. I know I said I wasn't going to say communicate any longer, but I have to. Communicate with your partner that you are going to do X, Y, and Z and just reassure them. Hey, babe, going to the club might go crazy, might go stupid with my friends, but don't worry. You're still my number one. I still love you. I'm not going to cheat on you. Just communicating like that in whatever way you might communicate with your significant other, is good because you at least know that you're conscious about being in this situation. You're going to avoid doing anything you might regret, and you're communicating with your partner these things. So it just builds trust even more. And like I said, dangerous situations vary from person to person. A dangerous situation for somebody might be flirting with somebody at their job who is just really cute to them. It might seem as innocent flirting or just innocent admiring if he or she is a good-looking person. But you don't want those feelings to build, especially when your partner is absent from your life physically. You don't want to get those feelings started. You don't want them to build. You don't want them to start becoming real. So just avoid those dangerous situations. But like I said, it's up to you to define what is dangerous. Another tip that I read was to do similar things, and I thought this one was really cute as well, kind of like the letters idea that I had, but just doing similar things in the sense of reading the same books, listening to the same music, watching the same movies, television shows, or YouTube videos. And I'm not saying this so you become the same person, but so when you guys talk on the phone or whatever you guys do, you have more things to talk about. It's so easy to just get into the routine of doing your own thing and they do their own thing. But if you do have some similarities within your day where you both know you're going to watch a TV show at 6, or you both know you're going to listen to an album today, or you both know you're going to read a book, it's nice to have those similarities because it connects you guys and allows for more conversation to occur when you guys are talking. So things don't get boring. This tip that I read is probably the most ideal tip, but it's also the hardest for some people depending on everyone's situation, obviously, but it's to visit each other. A number one tip is to just visit your significant other, and of course, this is different for everybody. Situations are different. Financial things can get in the way. Distance can get in the way, especially if it's another country, if it's another state. You just don't know how easy it might be to travel to see your significant other, and the frustration of that not being able to work out might get to your head, but it's good to know that even if it's hard to make frequent visits to see your significant other, just making visits in general or planning one big visit or just planning a future visit is really thoughtful and is so helpful in making the relationship stronger because it's showing that you're interested in seeing them, that you miss them, that you need to see them, you need to spend time with them, and you're willing to put in the effort to travel however far it is to see them, to spend however long to stay with them. And again, like I said, visiting your partner in a long-distance relationship might not work for everybody's scenario, but it's something that obviously is great. Getting a little dose of your partner is really, really nice. I mean, the goodbyes probably suck when you have to leave, but visiting and the time that you guys have together physically in space is going to be amazing. So another number one tip is to visit each other if possible, whenever possible. Now, the last tip is to communicate. No, I'm just joking. The last tip is to keep each other in the loop on friends and family. And this might seem pretty obvious because if you're talking to your significant other every day, you're obviously going to tell them any updates with your family, friends that come up in conversation. But actively remembering to tell your partner something that happened within the family or within your group of friends is a very intimate thing, and it kind of makes your partner feel like they're still in your life somehow because they're aware of what's happening in your life miles and miles away. So just sharing those stories and sharing those little experiences and tidbits of information here and there about your family and friends can not only strengthen the bond between you and your partner, but it kind of fills in that void of the uncertainty of not knowing what's really happening in your partner's life. Because there's no way you know what's happening 24/7, and it might be easy to forget to tell your significant other little things that happen here and there. But making that conscious effort to tell them stories and tell them the newest gossip or the latest drama will really help them feel like they're with you and like they're still a part of your everyday life. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the third topic of today's episode, where we talk about the things that no one really ever tells you about long distance relationships. And then we're going to go into the best long distance relationship gifts to give to your significant other. So I will join you after this quick commercial break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, so we just finished talking about some tips on how to make a long-distance relationship work, but now we're shifting the tone of the episode and we're going to talk about some things that nobody has ever told you about being in a long-distance relationship. And after this, make sure you stay tuned to the very end of the episode where I mention a couple of really cool gifts that you can give your partner when you're in a long-distance relationship that'll help keep the bond and the spark and the love alive. So when I was looking up some things on what has never been told about a long-distance relationship, the first thing that popped up was that you just got a ticket to an emotional roller coaster ride. And to me, I felt like this was kind of obvious, again, because I'm anti-long-distance relationships, but this section is for all the people who are looking at long-distance relationships through rose-colored glasses, and you need a little bit of a reality check. So yes, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Some days are going to be great and dandy and awesome. Some days are going to be horrible, and it's going to be, like I said, a roller coaster. It's going to be a ride, and you're going to have moments where you're completely in love and infatuated with the person that you're seeing. But then there's going to be moments where you feel kind of hopeless and helpless, and you just ask yourself if it's even worth it or if you really want to continue doing this. So that's one thing. And another thing that kind of segues from that is that you're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions while you're in a long distance relationship. You're going to really have to think about the future of your relationship and see if the work that you're putting in is worth the future, or if it's going to create the future that you want. You want to know where your relationship is heading. You want to see what's going to be the end goal. Are you moving in together? Are you moving to them? Are they moving to you? Is it worth it? Are you guys going to visit each other? It's a bunch of questions that are going to be in your brain, in your partner's brain about the future. The future is such a heavy thing in long distance relationships because, of course, long distance relationships shouldn't last forever. I mean, there should be a point where you guys meet in the middle and you are together in a physical space rather than in two different countries, states, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of weight that hangs on the future. And that also leads to the fact that relationships, especially long distance relationships, feel very heavy. They feel very draining at times because it takes a lot of your time, it takes a lot of your energy, and you really need to figure out if you're that kind of person that can withstand a long distance relationship. And I mentioned that earlier in the episode, knowing what you need first out of a relationship and knowing what you can provide in a relationship and seeing if that aligns with being in a long distance relationship. So there are going to be moments where your relationship feels heavy. It feels like you're going to need your partner and they're not going to be there, or vice versa, they're going to need you and you can't be there. You're going to have bad days where you're not going to feel the support that you feel like you need. Like text messages aren't going to do it. A phone call isn't going to be enough. A FaceTime call isn't going to be worth it. You're going to need support and like true support. And there's going to be moments where being in a long-term relationship doesn't give you the support you need. And it makes everything feel heavy and weighted. And I know this sounds really negative and I sound like a negative Nancy right now, but you need to realize that, this is a real thing and these emotions and problems do arise in long distance relationships. So if you're aware of them head on, then you know how to tackle them later on. Another thing that I mentioned in the last segment was how hard it might be to visit each other. And again, it really depends on schedules, financial situations. It depends on a lot. But when people are in a long distance relationship, they always say, well, you can visit me, or you can come to me, or I'll come to you, without realizing how much work that takes and how hard it is sometimes to schedule a visit. So just knowing that it might just not be as easy as dropping everything and flying across the country or flying to another state isn't easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It might be hard. It might not work the first time. It might have to take a lot of rescheduling, but just knowing that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be instant gratification. It's going to take a lot of work. Long distance relationships take a lot of work. It's not a walk in the park, guys. That's why everyone says, are you sure you want to be in a long distance relationship? And this leads me to knowing that support might be very slim from friends and family. Now, of course, in every relationship, it's ideal to have complete and unwavering support of the relationship from your family and close friends. And somehow, all the support kind of goes down a couple notches once they realize it's a long distance relationship. And as a person who has never been in a long distance relationship and has seen people in long distance relationships, I can confirm that this is very much true. I have a friend who attempted to be in a long distance relationship, and right away when he told me that they lived in 2 different states and it was going to be very hard for them to see each other, I immediately thought, well, that's not going to work out. And I know, not the most supportive thing to think, but that was my initial reaction. And it was because I think about all of these things that I just mentioned, how it's hard to put in the work, how it's hard to put in the time and the effort. It's not easy to schedule visits. It's not easy to get emotional support when you need it. And I just thought right away, oh, that's not going to work. Good luck. In my head, I was like, well, I'll see how long that lasts. And spoiler alert, it didn't work out. They're no longer together. But then I think about my uncle who had a long distance relationship with his now wife. So obviously it worked out. He was living in the US and she was living in Canada. And when he told us, and by us, the family, when he told me and my family that he was dating this person who lived in a different country, automatically we were like, is that the smartest decision? We were apprehensive, of course. But obviously, in their case, it wound up working. He moved out to Canada for her. Now they're living happily ever after, and they're married, and it worked out for them. So again, long-distance relationships, they're not just end-all be-alls. They're going to turn out horrible. Sometimes they turn out amazing, and they work. It depends on the person. And it depends on the strength of the relationship. But coming from a person who has witnessed long distance relationships either succeed or fail, I can tell you that my apprehension about the relationship is always the same. I don't really support it in the beginning. I never really know how long it's going to last. I don't really see it lasting. So when I read that little thing on the website saying, oh, you're not going to get a lot of support from family and friends. I identified with that right away because I thought about myself and how I really wasn't that supportive with my family and friends. And I'm not saying that I went up to my uncle and I was like, that's not going to last. Or I went to my friend and told him, that's not going to last. Good luck, buddy. Like, I wasn't rude. But in my head, I was just like, will it last? I don't know. So yeah, just be aware. The people in your life might not be so supportive, might not be so gung-ho about it. And again, don't let that waver your relationship. Don't let that put any strain on your relationship. If you know the strength of your relationship is strong enough to overcome distance, then don't worry about what your friends think and what your family thinks, because they don't know your relationship. They don't know the ins and outs of it. What do they know? You know? That's what I think. And then I look back at myself and I was like, well, what do I know? Because my uncle is happily married with his wife and he moved out to Canada and he's fine. So what do I know? Another thing that I read was time will be your enemy. And when I read this, I was like, whoa, that's a strong statement. Time is the enemy. But like, actually, correct, because time, like I said, scheduling is so important, and time might really work against you guys in a relationship, especially a long distance relationship. I know I mentioned earlier time zones. If that's a factor, good luck, Charlie, because that is so hard to navigate around. Time zones plus individual schedules and routines. Time is going to be your enemy. I thought that was a little bit harsh of a statement, but it's true. Just let it sink in. If you're trying to pursue a long distance relationship, just let it sink in. It might be your enemy. It's going to take a lot of hurdles to jump over, but time, ooh, man, good luck. But again, I don't just want to be negative and say, long distance relationships are never going to work, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be hard, like I said. But if you can do it, you can do it. Kudos to you. If you can manage your time and your partner's time and create a successful relationship through that, then time isn't your enemy, okay? You are the winner. This one that I read was kind of funny. It said, technology is going to be your significant other. And I thought that was kind of funny and kind of sad, because obviously when you're in a long distance relationship, you're going to be doing all the communication through technology, texting, calling, video calling, voice messaging, all that good stuff. And that is all through technology. It's really no face-to-face contact, physical contact. So you're going to be glued to your phone, you're going to be glued to your laptop, you're going to have to respond through an email, through a text, through a FaceTime call, all that good stuff. So make sure that your devices are charged, make sure that your notifications are on, your ringer is on, so you're aware whenever your significant other tries to contact you, because you never know. Maybe the couple minutes they took to call you were the only couple minutes they had in the day to call you. So you really want to be aware and notice the moments that they're reaching out to you, the moments that they're texting you, so you can respond in a timely manner and just keep the communication alive. You don't want to keep anybody hanging. You don't want to have a text come in at like 1 p.m. and then only respond at like 7 p.m. because you were busy. If you can just respond right away and just know that a quick text, I'm busy, but I'll call you later, is good enough to kind of keep things at bay for the moment, you're good to go. You just have to communicate and be able to talk to each other and just know when you guys are on each other's schedules and available to talk. So that's what I'm saying. Keep your phone next to you, ringer on, notifications on, fully charged. Get an extra charger in the back. You never know. Now, this last thing that I read seemed even more harsh than time is your enemy. But this one said, it won't get easier in time. And that's kind of the opposite of everything that everybody says. Everyone's always like, it'll get easier in time. Time will heal all things. But I guess not according to long distance relationships. It doesn't get easier. According to this website where I found all of this information from that I did my research for, time doesn't make it easier. I mean, of course, we'd like to think it would be easier once you're couple months into a long distance relationship, but problems are always going to arise, just like any normal relationship, but it's just a different set of problems. It's a different set of problems with different stakes. And again, if you're able to handle them and solve those problems and figure them out in a beneficial, healthy way, then you're good to go. But you just need to be aware that it's never going to get easier. There's always going to be problems, and long distance relationships, they're made for the strong. They are made for the strongest of the strong people in this world. Long distance relationships aren't for wishy-washy people who are just chilling, doing nothing. They are made for people who are ready to put the work in. So when you're in a long distance relationship, or you're thinking of being in a long distance relationship, you have to ask yourself this: are you willing to put in the work? And if the answer is no, then your answer is no. Then don't do it. But if your answer is yes, then man, oh man, go back to the stages of being in a long distance relationship, communicate and build that foundation of trust. And like I said, you're good to go. Now, of course, there's a bunch of things that I probably haven't touched on, and a lot of other things that no one's really ever talked about when it comes to long distance relationships. But like a lot of things, it depends on the person. It depends on the relationship. Everything is different. Every relationship is its own. It's all unique. So problems for one relationship might not be problems for another, and vice versa. But just being aware of kind of the overarching problems such as time and scheduling and emotional roller coasters and all that good stuff can help you better prepare and really know what you're getting yourself into when you're thinking about going into a long distance relationship. And this is why I wanted to share these little things, even though, like I said, they seem negative and angsty towards long distance relationships. But I would rather tell you guys this stuff so you can be aware of it, instead of just keeping you guys looking at long distance relationships through rose-colored glasses, thinking everything is peachy keen and sweet, because it's not, and no relationship is. It takes work, man. It takes work. But now that I hit you guys with the reality check, we're going to go into our last segment of the episode where I share some really cool gifts that you can give your significant other if you are in a long distance relationship, and some cute little tidbits on how to spice it up in your relationship. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Alrighty, so now we are getting into the very last segment of the episode, some really cool gifts that you can give your significant other if you're in a long distance relationship. We just finished talking about the things people don't tell you about being in a long distance relationship, so I wanted to end the episode on a little cute, lighter note, talking about gifts and happy things, so you can end this episode smiling. All of these gifts that I'm mentioning, you can find online, obviously, on Amazon, Etsy, really anywhere on the internet. Just Google up the names. You'll find a bunch of different options at different price points. And I just wanted to give you that disclaimer before I started getting into everything, because these gifts are so cute. And even though I'm not in a long distance relationship, if I was in one, I would definitely buy some of these gifts. So the first one that I think is the most popular right now that I've seen kind of everywhere are the long distance touch bracelets. pretty cool. Technology is really advancing, but basically it's a pair of watches. So you wear one and then your partner wears one. And when you touch it, no matter where they are in the entire world, they will feel a vibration that matches how you touched the bracelet. Does that make sense? So like if I touch the bracelet like 3 times, like zzz, then my partner would feel zzz, like the same exact thing, no matter what. So if you're just thinking about your partner in the morning, you just touch the bracelet and then they can feel it. Or if they're thinking about you throughout the day, you just get a little zap. Obviously, it's not like a shock or anything. It's a nice little vibration, nothing hurtful or harmful, but it's a nice thing to know that in real time, your partner's thinking about you and you can feel it and you can feel what they are sending to you through the bracelets. And I thought that was so cool. And there's a bunch of other things like that that are kind of like long distance touch things. There's like lamps that you can touch, and when you touch the lamp, then your lamp kind of turns on, stuff like that. Like really cool, like interactive touch long distance gifts are so cool, and I think they're so cute for relationships because it's just like a cute little reminder. It's like a little alarm that your significant other is thinking of you at random times in the day. Another gift that kind of follows the same thing as the touch bracelets are the love box messengers. It's so cute. If you can imagine, it's basically like a little small wooden box with a heart on the outside of the box on the side. And basically what happens is you can send a message through the box and it alerts whoever has the box that they got a message by spinning the heart. And then you open the box and you can see the message inside. It's obviously like a digital message. So if you texted your partner, "I miss you," then the little box, wherever it is, the heart will shake or spin. And then you know, oh, like I got a message. And then you open the box and it shows a little message, whatever they said. So if you open the box, it would say, "I miss you" on it. And I think it's so cute. You can put it on your nightstand. You can put it really anywhere. It's pretty small, but it's so nice because the little heart spins, and it's so cute because then you see the message in the box. And it's kind of like love letters without waiting for the love letter and also without writing the love letter. So it's like a digital love letter, basically. And I mentioned earlier how in long distance relationships, when you need support, you might not always get the support that you need. I mentioned how a text might not do it, a phone call might not do it, and you just need something else. And I found a gift that I think is really, really cute and can kind of help with that little problem. And it's called Letters to Read When ... And basically it's a bunch of letters that have different prompts on them. So letters to read when you're sad, letters to read when you miss me, letters to read when blah, blah, blah. And you can write your own letter. And once you send this to your person, then they'll have a bunch of letters unopened, but you'll just see, open this when you're sad, open this when you miss me. So when that moment does arise and you feel like you need a little bit more support from your significant other, you can just grab the letter, see which one applies to your situation. If you're missing them, then you open the one that says, "Open when you miss me." And then you see this personalized handwritten letter from your partner and you open it when you need it. It's not just a letter that arrives in the mail. It's like a safety net. When you really need it, you take it, you open it, you read it. And it's there for you. It's there to support you in moments where you feel like you just need a little extra. So I thought those letters were so cute. Of course, you can make them really sappy, you can make them really cute and gooey, but you can also make them really funny, and you can play around with them and make them super lighthearted as well. And it's just so versatile, and I think it's really, really cute. So it's called the Letters to Open When. And like I said, you can get all of these online, Amazon, Etsy, all those good places. But they're so, so cute. And they're really good for basically anything. Another thing that I saw online that I thought was really interesting were these kissing mugs. I thought they looked really, really cute. I know you guys can't see them, so I'm going to do my best to describe them for you listeners out there. So imagine a coffee mug. Regular plain coffee mug, but instead of it just being a round cup, you have your handle, and then the other side of the cup is shaped like the profile of a person's face. So you see the nose, you see the lips, and there's a little eye kind of drawn on the cup, and there's 2 cups with 2 profiles. I hope you're with me right now. 2 cups, 2 profiles, and then 2 eyes. When you put them together, they kiss. I hope I did an okay job explaining that, but basically they're 2 mugs that when you put them together, it looks like 2 people kissing. And I love that idea. I think that's such a cute gift in general, like for any relationship. But imagine giving your significant other a cup like this, and then they fly away to wherever it is they live, and then you keep your cup, and then in the morning you're just drinking your cup, and you just look at your cup and you're like, wow, the matching cup is with my significant other. And you can just imagine that they're drinking out of the same cup, and when you guys get together, then you can make your cups kiss. It's too cute. It's really cute. It's really cheesy. Maybe I'm just being too cheesy right now, but I just think it's really, really cute. And it's kind of like what is that called? It's like one of those necklaces where it's a broken heart, and then one side says best and then the other side says friend, and then you give the matching side to your best friend. It's like that, but with cups, and they're kissing, and it's for a significant other. But basically it's really cute. I love matchy couple stuff, so that is such a cute option if you're interested in that as well. Now this gift, it might not appeal to everybody, but I think maybe somebody would like it. I find it pretty funny. It could be a cute, like, little gag gift if you wanted it to be. But if you guys are familiar with body pillows, where it's basically just like the torso of a human and then one arm so you can cuddle with it, it kind of feels like you're cuddling with a person. Body pillows, some of them have heads on them. They don't have any faces. I don't want to make this seem creepy, but they don't have any faces. It's just a pillow in the shape of a human, so you can cuddle with it, and it feels like you're being snuggled while you sleep. So here's the gift idea. I didn't find this online. I just thought about it. So judge me if you want to, but I think it's really funny. If you just buy a body pillow, right? And then somehow you can get your significant other's face printed on the body pillow, and then you can give that to your significant other. I think that would be so hilarious, because you'll have your body pillow, right, to cuddle with, cozy vibes, but then you're like, oh, I really miss my boyfriend. And then you just look up, and then you see a printed photo of them on the body pillow that's cuddling you. It's like they're there, but they're not really there. Again, I don't know if a lot of people are going to be into that idea, but I think it's really funny. You can just choose whatever photo you want to put on the body pillow. You can really have fun with it, actually. You can choose like a really funny photo of your partner and put it on the pillow. It could just be a gag gift. I don't think it'll be really like a serious I love you type gift, but I think it's still funny. So write that one down. That one's not online. That one came from my brain. So if you guys decide to buy it or make it in any type of way, just give me credit. Now, I saw this gift online and I thought it was just so gorgeous, and I thought it was like a beautiful piece of art that you can probably hang up anywhere in your home, but I thought it was so cute. It's basically called a personalized map, and if I can explain this, it sucks because you guys can't see this, so I'm gonna have to use my skills to kind of describe this. But imagine 2 puzzle pieces, okay? And one puzzle says California, and then the other puzzle says Antarctica. I don't know. And you're from California and your partner's from Antarctica. Basically, what it does is it combines both puzzle pieces so they look like they fit together. But the puzzle pieces are maps. So on one puzzle piece, it's a map of California. On another puzzle piece, it's a map of Antarctica. You fuse the puzzle pieces together, and it becomes one big puzzle piece with like infusing both maps of Antarctica and California. And then it says something really cute at the bottom. I'm pretty sure you can personalize it, but it says, "The last piece to my puzzle, love always and forever." So it's really cute. It's a cute anniversary gift, or just any gift in general. And it's a nice wall art moment that you can put in your room or your house. So it's decorative and also reminds you of your boo thing. So it's really, really cute. Now, kind of similarly to that puzzle piece is this 2-star location star map thing that I found. I like this way better than the puzzle piece because it's a very grand piece of artwork. The puzzle piece one seems a little bit smaller, but this one's so cute because basically what it does is kind of a similar thing where it takes the location of where you are, let's say California, and then your partner, Antarctica, and it maps the stars depending on their location, and it fuses them together, and it makes a huge artwork of kind of like the star pattern in both of your skies based on where you are in the world, and it fuses them together so it looks like one sky full of stars. And it's just so pretty. I really love these gifts. I'm just like, I don't know, it's making me want to be in a long distance relationship just so I can get the gift, but like it's so cute. And all of these like touch lamps and touch bracelets and like message sending things are so cool. I don't know, like I don't have a purpose for these at all, but I just really want one just to play with it. I just want to play with like a little touch lamp or a touch bracelet for fun. But of course, there are bunches and bunches of different gifts out there. There's a bunch of matching gifts, you know, different matching keychains, matching necklaces, bracelets, rings, coffee mugs, you name it. They have a matching set for it. And you can personalize them for your relationship or whatever you want it to say. You can get stuff engraved. There's a bunch of those touch objects that are super, super cool. A bunch of those mapping location objects and art that is really, really nice. And there are so many different types of gifts out there to give your significant other if you are in a long distance relationship. So just Google some more. There's a bunch. If you really couldn't picture what I was describing, just Google it and you can see it. You'll see what I was talking about and you'll see how cool it is and how great they are for long distance relationships. But those are just some of the ones that really stuck out to me and I really wanted to share with you guys. Like I said, if I was in a long distance relationship, which I'm definitely not, and I definitely don't want to be in, but if I was in one, these gifts, they would probably be a very convincing aspect of a long distance relationship because these gifts are so cute. I cannot stop looking at them. I love them so, so, so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about them and tried to describe them in the best way that I could. I think my favorite out of all of them is the star map. I think that one's really, really cute, and the kissing mugs. Again, those are things that you really have to see. So promise me that after you listen to this episode, you just Google them really quickly and then you can see what I'm talking about. And then you'll know why I'm like so obsessed with them right now because they just look so cute. But yeah. Now to all the listeners out there who are like me and wouldn't dare to even step foot or dip their toes into a long distance relationship, never say never. I know I'm very anti long distance relationship, but anything's possible. Be open. Be open and be receptive. To all the people that are thinking about being in a long distance relationship, be strong. Know what you want. Know what you need. Know what you can give. And really think before you commit if a long distance relationship is right for you and if you're willing to put in the work to make it work. You have my blessing. If you answered yes, you have my blessing. And to all the people out there who are listening who are in a long distance relationship, pop the champagne. Kudos to you. You're doing amazing. I hope that your relationship is fruitful and amazing and beautiful and happy and filled with so much love. And just kudos to you for doing the thing and making it work. And with that, I wanted to say thank you guys so, so much for listening to this episode of the GSMC Relationship Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. If you like what you heard and you want some more of GSMC, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. It would be really, really cool. You'd get extra brownie points if you leave a review about this episode. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you didn't like. Let me know how I did as your host. And with that, I'm Vibyana. It was a pleasure talking to you, and see you in the next episode.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.